Welcome back to Hack Hunter, where we review some of the best and worst tattoo artists that are in your cities. Now, in this episode, one of our viewers wrote in from Tyler, Texas, and he was looking for an artist out there that could do a great job with some color realism work. And so, I set the team on it, and here's who we found. Enter Josh Witt, also known as J Witt. You can find him working at W Tattoo right there in Tyler, Texas. A phenomenal studio. They got a couple amazing artists that work there. If you want to check them out on Instagram, W Tattoo TX on Instagram, and here are some of the artists that work there. They have an amazing studio. Honestly, a super clean setup, very, very professional looking studio. So I would absolutely recommend going to any of their artists there in general. But today we're going to be talking about J Witt. J Witt Tattooer on Instagram. Always do your own research, guys, but let me show you what I found. Bam! Let's talk about fast food for a second. Look at this burger. Oh my god, that is beautiful. Wow, you got the onions, pickles, lettuce, tomato. Gosh, that is just phenomenal. I can imagine a lot of artists would really, really struggle with this, and he just made it look easy. My only gripe would be that this particular client chose to put it up on their shoulder here, and you can see where the divot of their shoulder blade right there kind of causes the burger to divot. So let that be a lesson to you guys. If you're going to do any sort of realism, you want to find a flatter place on your body where it's not going to warp the imagery. Especially with portrait work, you really want it to be on a more flat area of the body, wherever you can find it. A chest plate, shoulder blade piece, just somewhere where it's a little bit more flat so you don't get this warping. But even with that warping, oh my god, he did a phenomenal job here. Makes me want to take a bite out of this guy's shoulder. Now, moving on. Most of what I saw in his portfolio was birds, actually. It was kind of strange. He had quite a few in there, and man, he's really freaking good at them. Look at this. Look at all these little tiny little hairs coming off below the beak there. Just phenomenal. This is just a really crisp, clean-looking blue jay. And I was really impressed by, he's got this painterly style. As you can tell, this backdrop here, he looks like it was painted in. Now, he did a really good job of it here. I see a lot of artists kind of miss the mark when they do these backgrounds. They think it's as easy as just putting in some blotchy colors and calling it good. But J Witt here, he has a great way of contrasting the tones, adding complementary colors, and shaping them in such a way that your eye gets the feel that it's an out of focus background back there, as opposed to just blurry and blotchy color back there. It's not as simple as that, and he has a really great color theory way of doing it here. Now, here's another one, a falcon, just beautiful, and I was really impressed with the way he incorporated this neo-traditional style color, or this neo-traditional flower in here, because this is just a really cool mixture of those two styles, and you can see just by this simple flower alone how well his blending comes out, how smooth his line work is. It just says a lot about him as an artist, just that simple design right there. Just amazing, amazing stuff. Now, this is one on a hand, and can you believe that? I mean, we see a little bit of redness around there, but man, let me tell you, anybody who has never gotten their hand tattooed, trust me, they welt up, they bleed very easily, and so the fact that he did this, all this color blending, this realism, this really tight detail, and it's still just a little bit of redness, a little bit of puffiness. He did not overwork the skin at all. He has a great application technique, and this is kind of going to show that for sure. Now, here's another one on the inside of an arm. He's just great with these animals. I love it. He doesn't do all the kind of painterly look as in here, but then you get the high definition detail in the mouth. And so I think that's just really, really incredible. Some artists get used to doing that kind of out of focus realism too much. They don't focus on the small details. And I think he does a really great blend of the two here. It's really impressive stuff. Again, with this out of focus background, complementary colors that are in opposition on the color wheel to what's in the foreground. And that's a small little trick that goes a long way. So I can really tell he knows what he's doing when it comes to color. Here's a little squirrel searching for nuts on this dude's arm. Just great hair texture in there. Very cool. For such a small thing, he blended so many different tones of browns and caramel and skin toner in there. Just did a great job. This subtle drop shadow. It really goes a long way to give it this realistic look, like he's really climbing that person's arm. I was very, very impressed with such a small piece like this. Really well done. This one, you guys, you got to go on his Instagram, check it out, because he's got a video of this up, and this image of it does not do it justice. This little trash panda inside her armpit, crawling out of a hole in the tree there. Look at all these textures that he used in the tree here. All these colors, again, complementary colors to each other. He used like kind of a moss green here to give a texture. All those different tones of browns. Just really, really well done stuff. You can absolutely tell he knows what he's doing. I don't doubt that he's booked out quite a ways, because he had such a versatility in his artwork as well. Look at this. Catwoman portrait, just epic looking. The glare off her costume is on point, and something I really got to point out is the out of focus ear right here and the out of focus background. That is just such a subtle difference from when you look in the foreground how crisp, say, the line on her chin right here. See how crisp that is, but then it's out of focus back here. That is just such a subtlety that he incorporated in there. It's time consuming, definitely have to pre-plan that, but it goes such a long way to complementing the piece and showing our eye where to focus. So when you look at a piece like this, you know exactly where you're supposed to look at the detail and what's unimportant detail. He just did a phenomenal job. The other kind of artwork that he does very, very well, I was so impressed to see this, is he does black work very well. So going from that color realism to this black and gray realism stuff is just really impressive. Not a lot of artists can jump back and forth with such ease. And so to see somebody do it this well, see how well those fingers are done, and then I zoom down here on the toes as well. Oh man, a lot of artists struggle with those fingers and toes, especially when they're super microscopic tiny in the tattoo. But man, he nailed it. Very, very crisp, very, very clean work. And then some of this, he did some of this line dot shading, and he did a really great job with this sort of speckling in here. This is where an artist uses just their liner, they slow it down, and they create these sort of dot whips in here, and he does it really well. Look how I zoom in here as close as I can get, and the detail just gets cleaner and cleaner. You can see the flow of all of those feathers in there. That's just brilliant. That's an artist that's taking their time, caring about every single piece. Not to mention, I really like the contrast he puts in these, right? A lot of artists, especially when they're doing this sort of line dot shading, or they're doing the speckle work, it'll come out too light when it heals, but I can tell he's using rich blacks in here and concentrating his dots to create a great contrast. So that means these are definitely going to hold up over time and look clean for many, many years to come. Finally, last one I'm going to show you. I was very impressed with this puppy portrait. When a dog is all black like this, it's easy for some of that detail to get lost in the shadows, but he clarified it here very, very well. And then the detail on the collar, I love it. I've said it in past episodes before. A lot of artists might just kind of take the collar out. It's not necessary. It's not really needed for the portrait, but when you put that collar in there and you put the nice glare effects and the clean detail on there, I think it adds something to the piece for sure. So I think he did a great job again. So, Jay Witt from W Tattoo, 100% goes on our approved list. You guys are lucky if you live there in Tyler, Texas. Go give him a visit. You won't regret it. But stick around for part number 2 of this episode, because not every artist was super great out there in Tyler. You'll see what I mean. Here we go.